guys, it's Coach Steve. I'm here in Broken Top Club in Bend, Oregon, and I'm with expert fitter Josh Hansen, and we're talking all things TaylorMade wedges. Well, I got a little diggy. It still came through though. These TaylorMade Hi-Toes, I really like the feel of them.
Yeah, it works really great on some kind of those off-center hits. Those bottom grooves are still really great, but it gives some versatility out of adverse conditions.
It's really easy to hit this kind of low spinning shots in there.
So that Hi-Toe, one of the cool things about it is it actually has a little bit higher center of gravity because of that extra mass up there.
Oh.
So it's going to launch that ball a little bit lower, so it's going to spin a little bit more than your standard wedge.
I like it.
So most wedges are going to have a little bit higher versus a normal club, but especially with these new ones where you're seeing more mass in that toe section. But for apples to apples, a standard run-of-the-mill type wedge versus a Hi-Toe, that one's going to tend to launch a little bit lower, spin a little bit more.
So if I'm looking to hit that low spinner and use that as kind of one of my main scoring shots, this would be a good club for me?
Yeah.
All right, what's the difference in some of the sole designs?
So there's a lot of different iterations of these soles. Each one of them is going to kind of have a little bit of a niche category, depending on the conditions you're playing and how you deliver that club in impact. We have some that have certain relief in certain areas. If you like to open up that face, it's going to have a little bit of the bounce. We could talk about that.
Is that this particular one right here?
Yes, this is that C grind, which has a little bit of that relief where they've actually taken kind of a grinding wheel and shaved off some of that material. So when you have a tendency for those players who like to open up that club, it still sits low to the ground for those little bit harder conditions, those tighter conditions.
Am I sacrificing any bounce for that?
You will be sacrificing a little bit of bounce when you open it up, but at the same time, when you open it up, you also add bounce. So it kind of negates it a little bit.
Balances itself out.
Correct. And that's going to be another thing. If you find yourself hitting it either low or high on the club face, it's always good to make sure you're playing the right bounce for the condition, because a higher bounce wedge in a harder condition golf course where the ground's a little bit firmer will have a tendency to, you're not going to be able to get down to that golf ball enough, and you might hit them thin. Whereas if you're playing a low bounce option, so this is a low bounce, this is 8 degrees, so there's a 6-degree difference between the high and the low. If you're playing somewhere in a wet conditions or something like that, and you find yourself always hitting it a little bit higher on the face, again, you might be playing the wrong wedge.
Okay. What is the purpose of this construction back here? Why do we have this weight in the toe? And why do we have all these grooves all the way up the face?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's the Hi-Toe version of the wedges have gained popularity in the last few years. There's a couple big differences between these two. Adding a little bit more weight in the northern side of the club is going to, it's going to take that center of gravity and move that up. So this ball is going to tend to launch a little bit lower, which will also make impact below the center of gravity, which actually increases spin a little bit more. The other really big thing, and you find this a lot when people are playing the Hi-Toe wedge in their 60, 58, even their 56, is if you look at the grooves on these versus a standard teardrop shaped golf club, the grooves will stop before it gets to the toe. There's a void section of grooves. Whereas the Hi-Toe, those grooves continue all the way to that toe section. Grooves on a golf club are like kind of tire treads on a tire, right? Mm-hmm. When we don't have grooves where we're hitting it, it's going to hydroplane, right? It's going to spin out. These grooves channel debris away from the face so we can get a solid contact on the golf ball. When we have the tendency to open up that face, especially in deeper rough scenarios, we might get under that golf ball a little bit more, and we might see some more strike patterns going up towards that toe of that golf club.
Because when we open the face, we have less of a area to hit, and we might be getting some contact out towards the
Correct.
toe.
Where we're normally trying to hit on a vertical axis of top to bottom, when we open that face up, that axis goes more towards that toe section. Yeah. So having those grooves up in the top is gonna save you on those little bit of a miss hit where we might get under the ball too much. That's gonna channel debris away from the strike so we can still have those nice high spinny shots, where we ended up hitting more of a knuckleball with this, where it would hit and then just kind of take off.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Josh.
Absolutely.
It's really been informative.